between two conflicting estimates. Somebody is lying.
All right, so my nieces and nephews, my lovers, let's get it. Okay, so we're going to go talk about a little bit more about voter fraud. As we know, you already know if you've watched some of my videos that I don't really take Republicans in earnest. I think they're all a bunch of jokers. I think they're a bunch of losers, but they're winners. They win at politics, but they're losers as far as humanity goes. And so they've been crying voter fraud, but turns out it's the Republicans who are the ones who routinely engage in voter fraud. And I mean, it's brilliant because Republicans have less voters numerically in the country, so they have really nothing to lose by taking this route of disenfranchising the political process, electoral process, because they don't have enough voters, and they've been accustomed to doing it because that's how they stay in power. They're minority of the country. They lost the popular vote in Donald Trump, but they control the Supreme Court 6-3. It's not even close. You know what I mean? Obama ran for 8 years. Trump had one term and got 3 seats. You know what I mean? So you see how the Republicans are just kind of a dominant force in politics, even though their electorate is smaller than the Democrats. The reason for that is that the Republicans are just kind of straight, like, inhuman and relatively violent and like a death cult, and the Democrats are like slightly less than that. And the only thing about the Democrats is kind of the memories of the past of what they had done in the past, like maybe something like FDR, and people still kind of have that vision of what Democrats used to be. But that's not. They're both Democrats and Republicans are both a corporate party, so it's ridiculous. Anyway, Republicans are indeed the ones who are all about voter fraud. We'll take a look at this story from CNN. Ethics experts and Trump critics call for Senate investigation into Graham's probe into presidential election. And Trump critics, like, that's a shitty title. Anyway, 3 top ethics experts and prominent critics of Donald Trump on Wednesday. Why does it have to be like prominent critics of Donald Trump? They do this on purpose to make it more partisan. Why not just say 3 top ethics experts on Wednesday formally requested the Senate committee investigation whether Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina violated the chamber rules in his probe over how mail-in voting was conducted into the 2020 election. Okay, so Lindsey Graham was getting shady. It turns out he was doing some shadiness. Let's see. In a letter, Walter Shaw, a former top ethics watchdog from a federal government, for the federal government, Richard Painter, the chief ethics lawyer for President George W. Bush administration, and Claire Finkelstein, the director of the University of Pennsylvania Center of Ethics and Rule of Law, asked the panel to look into Graham's call last week with Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, and whether Graham suggested that Raffensperger disenfranchise Georgia voters by not counting votes lawfully cast for the office of president. So it's indeed Lindsey Graham who's trying to do, but that's exactly that. But that's exactly what you would expect. Republicans talk in projection. They say the shit they're about to do, but they say you're going to do it, so that then when they do it, you're too busy saying, "Hey, I'm not going to do that." Hey, so many people are out there, liberal leftists are saying there's no voter fraud, there's no evidence, which there isn't. But instead of this, real story is, the Republicans are trying to do voter fraud by accusing everybody of voter fraud. They're trying to basically do fraud. That's what they're called. That's why the projection, it's such a tremendous tactic, and it's so effective for them. Just accuse everyone else of voter fraud, because while you're defending yourself on voter fraud, no one's looking at me, who's actually the primary voter fraud perpetrator. So let's see. They also asked the panel to investigate whether Graham threatened anyone with a Senate investigation of the Georgia vote tally. The Senate panel reviews complaints. Again, Lindsey Graham, he's not even from Georgia. He's South Carolina. So I don't know why he's talking to the Georgia. You see what I'm saying? Why is that? Obviously, you're never going to get a Republican to critically think, right? It's not about that for them. It's about winning, owning a lib, making them cry. But for any rational, reasonable person, why is the senator from Georgia, from South Carolina, threatening the Georgia, officials? It's just ridiculous. The panel, which is evenly split between 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans, acts in secrecy and often offers little more than a slap on the wrist to admonish a senator's misconduct. So basically, nothing's going to happen to him for it. Graham told CNN no, not at all on Wednesday when asked if he was concerned about facing any ethics. Of course he doesn't. Like, who cares? I get accused of everything. I'm just going to keep being me. Okay, whatever.
We have breaking news for you in our politics lead. A top elections official says Georgia is on track to finish its recount by tomorrow and that it will affirm Joe Biden's victory in the state. The announcement comes as a growing number of Democrats are blasting Republican Senator Lindsey Graham after stunning claims from Georgia's Republican Secretary of State that Graham hinted that he thought the Secretary of State should find a way to discard legally cast absentee ballots.
He asked if the ballots could be matched back to the voters, and then I got the sense that...
Okay, so Brad Raffensperger is a Republican Georgia Secretary of State. Again, but when you're Trump, basically, this is why everyone's calling it a cult, because people who are into Trump, they will only believe things that Trump says. No, like, I don't understand. Well, I mean, it's not to be understood. That it's almost like a disorder of the mind, where you would only believe one human being, the words that come out of one man's mouth. And so they need Trump to say everything that they need him to say. If Trump doesn't say it for them, they won't. So when they hear Brad Raffensperger, when they hear the head of Department of Homeland Security, when they hear officials from all of these states certify the election results, when they hear people say, oh, it's when Christopher Krebs recently got fired. I did a story on him, but he recently got fired for telling the truth, for saying this election was one of the most secure ever. So when you're dealing with Trump people, that's why would you argue with someone like this? Literally everybody in the world, all the news, everybody's saying, hey, the election was cool. Like but the problem is, these are people who yesterday they were cool with because they're Republican, but now they're not cool with because they're not making up fraud. No one can find it. So, so it's just ridiculous. Anyway, let's continue.
Implied that then you could throw those out and he really would look at the counties with the highest frequent error of signatures. Well, it's just an implication that look hard and see how many ballots you could throw out.
And why would Lindsey Graham mess around with this? Come on, man. You know there's no consequence for him. We live in fascism, and that's just the way it is. There's less Republican voters, but they hella control the government. Like, it's funny they talk about affirmative action, but affirmative action is for white people. And I'm going to tell you exactly the pieces of affirmative action white people, like whiteness, white supremacy, not necessarily an individual white person like that, but how it upholds white supremacy. Is that the Republican Party is basically an all-white party. It's an identity party, politics party. It's an ethno-state party. It's a representation of how they want the world to look. When you look at the Republican Party, that's how they want the world to be. That's how they want America to be, a vast land of whiteness, where they pretend that they're not racist, but they only throw crumbs to black people, and they'll throw more crumbs to you if you talk down on other black people or whatever minority that they pick that day. So that's what the Republican Party is. It's an identity politics party. If you look at all the senators, all the Congress people, everybody Republican is all white. White. They call you the race baiter, but they're the race baiters. They are whiteness, and they'll trot out a black person when it's time for the cameras to come out to show that they're not racist. But when the cameras are not there, it's all white. Okay, so what systems are in place to help this white identity ethno-state party? Because they have less voters. They have less voters in America than Democrats. Donald Trump lost by 5 million votes. Doesn't matter, though. What do? They have tools to enable them to maintain this Republican white supremacy. They have one tool is gerrymandering, which significantly helps. It's affirmative action. Gerrymandering is affirmative action for the white ethno-state Republican Party. What's another affirmative action tool that the white ethno-state Republican Party uses? Another tool of affirmative action that the white ethno-state Republican Party uses is the Electoral College. Again, Donald Trump lost the vote, popular vote, in his first victory, but he won the Electoral College. Again, without these tools of gerrymandering, Electoral College, and now they want to do this now they want to now their new scheme, their new game is to say that everybody's fraudulent so that they can go around being fraudulent and no one points to them. But they're fraudsters through and through. They're not serious people. They're out to destroy America. They're out to destroy the country. They are not patriots. They're divisive agents of the destruction. Lindsey Graham is the chief of one of those. And so as you can see, he's chief among one of the people actively engaging in voter fraud as we speak, as he's trying to say that everyone else is engaging in it. Every lawsuit that Donald Trump has had, virtually like 99% of them have been thrown out, meaning those lawsuits are essentially fraudulent. They're being they're engaging in these lawsuits to confuse the American people and to make it seem like there's more legitimate action going on than there actually is. These are fraudulent cases, talking about a non-zero number of Republicans in the room, like bullshit like this. It's just totally unhinged. But this is what you expect. It's going to get more and more crazy because they're fascist. They're coming more and more open with it. And so let's look at a little bit of. In the next video, we're going to look a little bit at, I'm going to make another one about gerrymandering and kind of, again, these are the electoral tools that the Republicans use in order to maintain power.